up, guys? Tambo here with your Week 4 core report. Our cores have been on fire this season, and our guy Hoop nailed the Week 4 strategy, stacking up the Lions and Seahawks game. Hoop went cheap at quarterback, rostering Geno Smith with the double stack of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. He then went full onslaught for the game by adding Jamal Williams, TJ Hawkinson, and Josh Reynolds from the Detroit side. Hoop topped off his lineup with several one-offs, including Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, and the Eagles D, racking up a score of 252 DraftKings points with a unique lineup that actually took out a 33-man dupe train, shipping the Hoopster $1 million in the Week 4 Millie Maker. Several of the players from Hoop's lineup appeared in his core plays and cash player pool provided to our premium members, who also had some pretty big weeks. MC won over 3K on DraftKings, Raholman hit for over 5K, Nika hit for over 6K, and Chase Addy NC shipped for over $45,000 on FanDuel. And Hoop isn't the only expert to hit big recently. JT Hayes hit for $20,000 in MLB last week. BigT hit once again, profiting over $33,000 on the NFL Week 4 afternoon slate. And our guy Locks had a huge night, shipping for over $213,000 on the Sunday night Showdown slate. You can watch all of our experts for free by visiting our YouTube channel and subscribing right now. For our premium content, where you can access all of our core plays, playbook, Discord, premium videos, and more, visit runpuresports.com and sign up for a membership today. At RPS, every sport is included for one low price. Sign up for our premium membership today, and let's keep running pure.
It's the Wishbone, but again, they need to stop calling it that because it's the old guys pod. We've got 4 old guys here. One man just got done calling a girls' volleyball game. There's JT Hayes and Spread a Stare, who really was very quiet before the show today. Hello, Spread a Stare. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing today?
I don't know. Have you murdered anyone lately? What's going on?
No, I just got back from a hike. I was kind of rushed on the way back. I said, I'll do a hike and I'll get back in time for the old guys pod. But being an old guy, I forgot about 5 o'clock traffic. So I'm sitting there going 2 miles an hour going, oh, am I going to be late? So if I get up, it's because I threw a couple burgers on the grill right when I got home.
Hold on, you got burgers on the grill right now?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go up.
Yeah, you got it. You know, I wouldn't even rush. Just take your time, man. That's good for you. Make sure you got good burgers.
Were you so rushed that the body was still in the trunk? Because I know that the freaky things that happen in Northern California. Were you able to get it out of the trunk or?
Oh no, I just left it in there, but I parked in the garage.
Oh, okay. You put them in the garage. Murder the theme of tonight's old guys pod. Aaron Judge murdered that baseball. There's no doubt about it. Before we get into any of this, I don't know what's going on with JT Hayes. JT Hayes / just JT already screwed that one up. JT, talk to us here. How's life in the world of an Atlanta Braves fan?
It's pretty good right now. On my other screen, I've got the Braves Marlins game on, hoping that they can hold on to this 2-1 win and seal up the division. Not so much because I'm worried that they're not going to be able to do it, but it really impacts my planning because, as you know, I have a season ticket package, so I opted into the postseason tickets. And if they win the division, then I have next Tuesday and Wednesday, which is just fantastic. Middle of the week, you go to the playoff baseball games. If not, my whole weekend kind of is a little bit ruined because then they would host like Friday, Saturday, Monday, I think. So I'm really hoping they put this away and give me a little bit of clarity on my schedule, Holden. How are you doing?
Things are wonderful on my end. Just normal stuff. I've been reading to children over the past 3 weeks.
Really? Are you allowed around children?
I am allowed. You know, I knew there was going to be a joke in there. I just wanted to prove that I was allowed by children.
So the 3-year restriction is over then? Or
the lifetime restriction's over on
They don't have a Megan's Law in Colorado?
There's just no law in Colorado, buddy. It's the Wild West out here. You can do whatever. So that's been the big highlight of my life. Reading to my daughter's classmates and then having football season here, which is the most amazing thing in the history of the world. Of course, all we do is grind away all week. What are you laughing about, Spread? Are you just geeked out?
The most amazing thing in the history of the world isn't traveling to the moon or or figuring out
No,
what's
it's
on
NFL
Saturday.
season.
It's 2022 NFL football season in which none of the players even played in the preseason. They're just getting together now. None of these offensive linemen have played against each other. Defensive linemen, but that completely eclipses the pyramids. All the great things, the Great Wall of China, all the great accomplishments in human history, pale in comparison.
Hey,
To the mediocre football we've been
Genghis
watching.
Khan would have been fucking blown away by the
him and Antonio Brown probably would have been going to the swimming pool together.
Yes.
So you mentioned the Great Wall of China. I visited the Great Wall of China. I was on a trip. I went to Beijing and Shanghai, and we took a half a day in the morning, went out to the Great Wall, and I have this picture next to the restrooms at the Great Wall, and it's a bunch of little Chinese kids that are mooning, like that's the picture. And I just thought it was the funniest thing. So I got a picture with it. I have to send it to you guys. But the Great Wall is amazing. I'm not a big pyramid guy, but the Great Wall was pretty interesting to see in person.
Have you been to the pyramids too?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Have you?
Well, no, but I mean,
Climb them? You know what happened? What's that casino in Vegas that looks like a pyramid?
Oh, the Luxor.
Yeah, I've been there. So yes, I have been to the pyramids.
That's close enough. All right.
There you go.
AT, can I rudely interrupt?
I mean, you just
whenever Holden gives us this look
just
during
asked
story
him.
time from one of us, that means that he's not interested. I mean, I'm interested, spread's interested,
Let me
but
say
Holden
this
looks
right now.
disinterested.
he's
Stop
definitely
right
not
now.
interested, but
Listen
he's
to me.
also fairly coherent.
This is the first show this season that I actually am not surfing the internet. I'm actually staring at your faces and trying
You're
to
usually
concentrate.
looking up.
But the more I hear is just total bullshit.
Well, you haven't
it's
gotten to me
almost
yet.
I
That's
should
why.
just go back and, watch Mandalorian trailers or something.
That's what you watch rather than listening to JT Hayes tell you about his
JT, by the way, did you say you took pictures of children mooning China?
So
Selective hearing.
once you know what, we're gonna put it on the website. I'm gonna find this picture and I'm gonna send it. It's a picture of me standing next to, I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. It's a cartoon on the side of a wall at the restrooms in the Great Wall of China. And it's a bunch of little Chinese kids with their pants down mooning that's the picture of the wall. So I mean, it's just, I just thought it was hysterical. I think you think it's funny too. I also think that you're not really, orbiting planet Earth right now like normal on a
You
Tuesday.
always say that. I'm so locked in tonight.
Yeah.
Caring about your opinions.
Yes.
Well, I didn't know you were watching Mandalorian trailers, Holden.
I
figured
haven't.
you're usually just shopping for popsicles on Instacart.
I just saw that there was a Mandalorian trailer.
Shopping for dildos, you can practice your gag reflex.
Dildos. Uncle T, you went to the Cincinnati Bengals football game last week. I believe it was a Thursday night game. Everybody was wearing white. What was going on? How was the night at the game with the Big T?
Yeah, first off, Holden, I'd like to welcome you back. We did miss you last week, and I hope your teeth are all fixed.
Look,
maybe on another show where we get G Rising, we'll let him know that what your mishap was, that you had to go to the dentist. And I still don't believe that story. But
by the way, this
for another
fucking
day.
guy, Uncle T, I got to go back. He's got to go back and re-drill the goddamn cavity that he filled last year. Like, that's it. I'm done with this guy. You can't have a make good on a fucking cavity. It's absolutely unacceptable. I got to go back in the same goddamn guy. So, you believe what you want to believe, but
let's save that for another show. All right. We'll save that for another show. But as far as the game last Thursday, yeah, had a great time. We had 10 of us that went over to the game, had great seats. I think 4th, 5th row, whatever we were down on the Bengals side. And a little wide out. They had the, record crowd there. And, the boys got off to a good start that first drive, and then they kind of, fizzled for literally a quarter and a half and did nothing. And then all of a sudden, Zach Taylor decided to open back the offense up, got the big play to T. Higgins down the sideline. And then obviously, Tua got hurt, and, and then the Bengals ended up closing it out. But no, it was a great time. Got the big dub. We had quite a few people on the Bengals -3, then some -3.5. But no, good time.
Do you guys subscribe? You mentioned Tua getting hurt. Do you guys subscribe, or not subscribe, but you follow this it's Annie Agar on Twitter? who does the NFL videos?
I don't.
None of you
No,
guys?
JT, I'm not a perv. I don't have to creep up on 25.
Yeah.
Let me guess, she's like 25 and blonde.
Yeah, but it's not that.
Oh, geez, shocking.
So she did this video today. She's talking about the Dolphins, and her comment was, I've seen dolphins treated better at SeaWorld. I mean,
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that is good.
She's funny. I mean, it's funny stuff. She, does this thing where it's every team and just hammers these teams. It was fantastic. I thought it was funny.
I've seen dolphins
treated better at
at
SeaWorld.
SeaWorld. I like that. JT, were you paying attention to the whole Aaron Judge home run thing? By the way, the number 62 is just amazing. The guy fell out of the stands to try and get the ball. The problem was the ball went into the stands. That guy himself is going to make $1 million just from publicity of being an idiot. But how caught up in the Judge thing were you?
How can I not be caught up? I mean, this is something we do every day. I put a core up today that had a Yankee in it. I didn't put Aaron Judge in the core because that was obvious, but yeah, I mean, how big of an achievement is it in terms of historically? I mean, in the American League, right? He's now the American League leader. He's not the Major League Baseball leader because there's all these purists that talk about, the steroid era, and it's not Bonds, it's not McGwire. Look, if everyone can do it, then that's the standard, and everybody could do it at that time. So if you wanted to use steroids, I've talked to guys, I've played with guys, as I still play adult baseball, who played in the minor leagues and didn't get to the big leagues, who are a little bit bitter because they said, hey, they didn't do it. And they thought that maybe that kept them out of getting to the show, but who knows? But that was the standard. So I think, and Bonds and McGwire were both so fantastic. So what did it add? 10, 12 home runs to their totals, but anybody could do it. So I think what he's done is amazing in this era with guys. It's not even guys throwing 100 miles an hour. It's you're facing 5 to 6 innings and then a different pitcher for basically the last 3 innings of every game. And those guys are all just outstanding. So it's a really incredible achievement. And I think it should be celebrated, not like it's the home run record, but like it's the American League home run record. And it's the Yankees home run record. And the Yankees, Babe Ruth, Roger Maris, bunch of other historically great players. I think it's fantastic. I'm very happy for him.
Did we even talk about Roger Maris being the AL home run record holder?
No, because
you don't even talk about it anymore.
No, because you focus on it was Babe Ruth who was the guy who set the standard. Roger doesn't have the career number of home runs that the Babe does, and so he kind of gets lost in the shuffle here. And it's just it really is. Now you talk about who you talk about Hank Aaron. Some people will talk about obviously Bonds, McGwire, Sammy Sosa in that mix there of quote unquote tainted players, which I think is ridiculous.
Bullshit.
And when you look at, but here's the thing about Judge, I think it was like, I don't know, a couple of weeks between, maybe a little bit less than that, between 61 and 62. And I remember reading the stories because I'm a huge baseball buff when I was younger about Roger Maris and the race to get to 61 and how like his hair was falling out because he was so stressed. There was so much attention. And what I'll say about Judge is he just hasn't missed a beat. He's done like Bonds did. And this is the other thing that's really impressive about Barry Bonds that nobody will talk about is he just took the walks. He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't swinging at pitches out of the zone. He was a team player. Yeah, the individual record was what his goal was partially, but he didn't let that cloud from, hey, if they're going to put me on, I'm going to take it. I'll steal a base. I'll let the guy behind me knock me in. And that's what Judge has done. The difference, Judge, this Yankees team without Judge, he's got to be the MVP, Holden, right? I know Shohei Ohtani's fantastic. He plays 2 positions. But my goodness, if Judge was not on this team, the Yankees aren't even sniffing the postseason.
It's sometimes you got to look past WAR to realize that.
And what the fuck is WAR anyway? WAR is like this. Hey, let's come up with a new metric every couple of years. That's the best metric ever. Remember when ESPN had the real quarterback value or something like that? Listen, if Ohtani wasn't on the Angels, they're still in last place in the American League West. if Judge wasn't on the Yankees, they might be in last place in the American League East.
Uncle T.
Well,
hey,
Holden, I know you're not big
don't
on
you need to
war
go flip some burgers?
because according to you, 2022 NFL football season was a greater achievement than the United States winning World War II. So I know that's not a big statistic.
I mean,
for you.
it is.
And I am going to go flip those. I'll be right back.
Achievement. I never said it was an achievement. Uncle
You
T.
said it was the
burgers,
greatest
Fred,
thing
we
in
got you.
humankind.
Drake Douglas has nothing on Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Uncle T, what were you going to say?
I wanted Spread to go flip his burgers. So
I'll
they
be
don't
right back.
burn. Yeah, Spread grilling out on the West Coast there, but no, I mean JT hit nail on the head with his comments. JT coming in hot tonight too. I love it. Love this JT.
Off.
Yeah,
No,
I love this.
I've had a great day. I was so excited for this show. I mean, it's just been great.
I mean, I can take it a step further. It's almost like you got some workbench time before the show. I mean, you're that excited. I love it. But, that's never here nor there. But, hey, Aaron Judge, what he's doing, again, JT said it beautifully. It has been pretty incredible. I'm a huge baseball guy like you guys are. And, for him to do that tonight, I think was pretty special. This team, with the injuries that they've had, to Stanton, to Glaber, you go all the way down the list. This offense has not been great all year long. And I agree. If he wasn't, and again, he stayed healthy for the most part the whole year, where he has struggled with injuries the last couple of years, been in and out of the lineup. He was pretty much healthy all year. So I agree with you on Ohtani as far as like any other year, maybe that it's not Judge hitting 62. Maybe Ohtani does go back to back, but I can't see how Judge doesn't get it done as far as the MVP this year in the American League. But, the postseason is going to be interesting too, because we always see random stuff happen. And I know for the most part, you look at the teams that are the odds favorite right now. You got the Dodgers, then Houston, then I think Atlanta, New York in some fashion. But when you're telling me that the Braves, who are as hot as anybody, it looks like they're literally peaking just like they did last year. And the Mets, who, again, I know everybody's down on the Mets because of what happened the last week or 10 days, and I get that. But you can't tell me that when this thing restarts here at the end of the week that, you still got DeGrom, you still got Scherzer, and I'm not counting them out either. I think it's going to be an interesting postseason. I love it. I love postseason baseball from a DFS standpoint, and, really looking forward to that. But I don't know, it's a football show, Holden. You want to get some football?
No, because I got to tell you about something, Uncle T.
The edible kicked in quicker than you thought?
I have not had one tonight.
Hold on.
I researched for tonight's show, Uncle T.
Okay.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, you did miss last week. So.
What I did was I typed in topics for old guys. Okay. And this is what's going to happen apparently in like 5 years when you're 60, Uncle T. Okay. The question is,
I just turned 47. I got a long way to go.
What topic should I discuss with a 60-year-old man so he can't get bored? Okay. And here are the recommendations. Space.
I'll be right back.
Space. Astrophysics.
Let's do another couple minutes on baseball here, just because it's
magnetic interpolation. What the fuck is that, JT?
It's not baseball. Spread. We're getting into the playoffs. I think Uncle T makes a good point, right? I think, and I want your opinion on this because you are.
You watch baseball, Spread?
I watch the playoffs.
Yeah, you haven't watched a fucking second of the regular season, have you?
Not really.
All right. Well, never mind then.
Like, go ahead. I know baseball history. I just haven't watched this year. You got to remember, my favorite team's the Oakland A's. I mean, that kind of
that makes sense. That makes sense.
I love
let me pose this question then to Uncle T and you, Holden, because Holden, you might have an opinion. You probably don't.
I haven't watched baseball in a month.
Here's what I think. When it comes to the Mets are going to get in. The Padres, probably going to play the Padres, host the Padres. I think the Dodgers are vulnerable with the pitching staff that they have here. I just think that you've got Urias has been fantastic, right? Gonzalez was hurt. You've got May returning from the injury. I think they actually put him back on the IL or something. And then you've got Heaney, who's prone to blow-ups here. I honestly think the Dodgers are a little vulnerable. If the Mets get past the Padres, that's a very interesting series. I also, as good as the Braves have been, listen, kind of, the Cardinals are going to be a tough out. I think the Cardinals get past the Phillies, and their pitching is suspect, certainly, but their offense certainly is not. But what do you think the Dodgers are a little bit vulnerable? And that's not because I have been mostly sarcastically like to be obnoxious about Dave Roberts and the way he manages, but I just think their starting pitching is a little bit vulnerable in a series against the Mets.
You're gonna laugh because he hasn't had the greatest playoff success. Kershaw's here, right? Like Kershaw is going to be available to give you 6 innings of one-run baseball. This is the only time he should be pitching. It's great. I know his back hurts him and he really needs the IL, but the only time you need Clayton Kershaw healthy, give him 3 starts in the regular season, let him go into postseason. They got themselves an ace right there. Kershaw's still elite when he's on the mound. Arias. Yeah. All right. So we know Tyler Anderson and Heaney, huh? Yeah, it is a little bit thinner than I even thought it was.
And that's the thing when you think about, and granted, look, I mean, the Braves ran through them like a hot knife through butter this weekend, but Scherzer, DeGrom, Bassett, man,
it's come down to bullpens though, a lot of times too.
And I think
playoffs are a bullpen.
I think the Mets have the edge there in terms of the end of the bullpen. You've got Edwin. Listen, Edwin Diaz, far and away, the best closer in baseball this year. Like the guy's been virtually unhittable, and there's no part of me that wants to really face the Mets in a 7-game NLCS. But the Braves have gotten to Scherzer, they've gotten to DeGrom. But man, once you get to the 7th or 8th inning with a lead, really, really tough to come back against that team.
Uncle T, did you want to talk football now?
You asked me a question? What?
Spread. Anything else you'd like to discuss before we get to the football portion of this?
Fred's eating dinner.
Are you eating dinner right now?
I mean, I got it over here, but
what do you put? First of all, you can eat dinner while the show's going on.
No, you're gonna get mad when you find out how I eat these.
Okay, what do you put on?
No bun.
Burger?
I literally eat nothing. And it's literally I'm gonna eat
plain
a hamburger with cheese on it.
Oh, so a plain cheeseburger?
I'm not even gonna lettuce wrap it. I'm just gonna eat the burger.
I mean, it's not the craziest thing. At least you got cheese. If it was just a plain burger without cheese, it would have been a little weird.
Okay. Well, most people think I'm weird. You should see the looks I got at the birthday party I was at last night when I lettuce wrapped up my burger.
You lettuce wrapped a burger at a party?
I mean,
spread just.
You got weird looks in California? That's kind of standard practice in California.
It actually, yeah, I'll give you. I'd say like most of the restaurants do it out here. So,
yeah,
but yeah, no, the people I was with.
Give me a little bit of lettuce or kale.
Yeah, why don't you put some kale on there?
I've actually never had kale.
You've never had kale? Uncle T's never had a vegetable spread. Like literally never.
That's not true. But my vegetables and fruits are not very.
How many vegetables have you had?
They're called pizza and cake.
Love bananas. I eat a banana every day.
Of course you do. But what about vegetables?
What do you mean? Of course you do. Don't disrespect me like that and just move on.
No. I just said, yeah, I guess I did disrespect you. But then I asked you a question. What about vegetables?
I eat vegetables. What? Not very many, but I'll eat vegetables.
Cucumbers.
Carrots, potatoes. Yeah, I'll eat a few vegetables. Not very many.
So you eat a plain burger and that's it.
I'm like spread. I'll just get me a little. Now you have to have my burgers cooked well done. I can't have any red
Gotta
or
have
pink.
well done ground beef. It's disgusting.
I had a little Wagyu burger at the local when we ate it before the game the other night. We ate at Montgomery Inn, which is the top rib place in Cincinnati. But I got a Wagyu burger and I had to get it well done. The thing was amazing.
You well done. I don't know why.
You're making fun of me again. That's not right.
Yeah, that's not right, man. That ain't right. You might as well just get some chuck wagon meat and throw it in there and burn.
I just got the buzzer and it said 35 minutes into the show, no football talk yet.
Are we supposed to talk sooner?
No, we did have one guy in chat last week that viewed the show and he said, "Great show, but can you get into the football talk a little earlier in the show?"
He's not going to be happy this week.
Yeah. No, sorry. Sorry, we can't.
I will say we
timestamp it because we should timestamp
it. We've been doing this 2+. This is the 3rd year of the Wishbone. Last week with you not here, we definitely talked more football as far as the percentage of the show than we ever have. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you Tony didn't like it.
I mean, JT Hayes, I thought crushed it, but
What'd you do, JT Hayes?
I didn't have enough topics, honestly. I didn't have enough. Like, you brought up the Judge topic, and we talked about that 15 minutes. We talked about baseball playoffs. I asked Spread last week of what he thought about Tom Brady and Gisele, and he really didn't have much of an opinion. So he humored me for a few seconds, but yeah,
they're getting divorced. It's a big story.
They are. It looks like it's looks like they're donezo.
So it's Zach Wilson time.
So I got a question since we're talking about Brady and Gisele here. So I just looked. So I was at my daughter's volleyball game, as you know, tonight. So I'm sitting there in between games, and we're talking about the Brady and Gisele thing. Without looking, because I was right, but I didn't know by how much. If you go by Forbes, whose net worth is more, and what number do you think it is?
Gisele by 223 million.
Probably
Damn, you are close, but no. What's the number? So let's rephrase it. What is Gisele's net worth, at least according to Forbes?
I mean,
$500 million.
Yeah, say 670 million.
$450 million.
Close to $500 million.
Actually, I take that back. 400 million.
What's he got? 250?
250. You're right. I figured she was more, but if they do get this separation or divorce or whatever it ends up being, it should be fairly simple, right? How often do you have a guy like Tom Brady that makes the kind of money he makes and he plays second fiddle in his house? I mean,
he does now until his career ends, and then he gets the broadcasting deal, which is, what was it, 10 years, 350 million?
He get alimony?
I mean, listen, that's one of those where if they're really amicable about it, it's like, we'll see you later, right? If you're going to be pissed about it, then it's going to be nasty and dumb. But when you're talking about those kinds of dollars, and you're really just, hey, we've grown apart, whatever you want to say, all right, we just go our separate ways, because otherwise you're dragging it out. Usually those things, when they get into emotions, it's because someone's not ready to let go. And this is a way to just turn the knife on the other person or make it hard on them. I don't know that we see that here. These two have been,
I agree,
pretty smart about how they've handled themselves, knowing they're public figures. So,
and more importantly, neither one's going to necessarily, when they do go their separate ways, if this ends up working out, neither one's necessarily going to have any trouble getting Holden, you can say it, neither one's going to have any trouble, getting any action here going forward, right?
What kind of action? So
I feel bad for that poor guy who's tuning in for football talk.
Yeah, well, it is time to get into football. I'm going to start with you.
He's already asleep. He's already asleep.
Let Spread come in here.
Well, it's a half hour. We know that this is whole, He's kind of like the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, we get 3 good quarters out of them, and then all hell breaks loose.
The Spread, I'm going to start with you. It's a general football, not a DFS NFL, but what game have you circled as your favorite to bet, watch, or play DFS for this week? What's the game of the week?
Let me pull these up. I didn't want to come in with too much stuff ready for you guys. But no, there's some fun games. Well, can I turn this around on you?
No,
that's kind of the motto Holden lives by: is never come prepared. Like,
you can't answer a fucking question about which game you're excited about. Just
all right, I am, but I just realized that I had something that I wanted to ask you. And I just remembered right now, and this isn't true. I figure it's in true Holden fashion here. Best game of the week. It's got to be Uncle T's team, right? The Bengals and the Ravens.
Well, that's not on the slate, though.
Oh, that's not on the slate. Well, okay.
I asked him about his favorite game, so that's fine.
I gotta be honest, though. This is fantastic. It's the perfect swap, because every time we would talk about best plays, G. Risen would talk about the Thursday night or the Monday night game, and I'd be looking at my sheet like, wait a second, why do I not have them circled? But that game's Thursday.
Oh.
So
all right, Holden, can I ask you a question now? I answered it. All right, are we good to go? Okay. So I'm a Raiders
Fire is the
fan.
question.
You're the host of the Denver City Cast, so you are plugged in as far as the Denver sports scene. The Broncos once again lost to the Raiders, which is just weird because if you only watch film of the Raiders playing the Broncos, they look like the Philadelphia Eagles look right now, right?
The Broncos have lost 5 straight to the Raiders, 12 straight to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just unbelievable there. And as bad as the Raiders fans are feeling about their season at 1-3, it feels like the Broncos fans are feeling way worse about their season at 2-2. Can you go ahead and let me in on what's going on there as you're running this podcast and you're, celebrity around town, getting stopped in the grocery store to ask for your opinion, people going home. Oh, I saw Holden at the grocery store today. He's a really cool
You got
guy.
the wrong
He talked
scouting
football with
report
me.
on Holden. There ain't a damn person looking for him in Detroit, Denver. I can tell you that right now. But go ahead, Holden. I didn't mean to interrupt.
How's it feeling around Denver?
Now,
Around
man gone maybe, but
How's the feeling around Denver?
yeah, for this 2-2 team.
They want to fire Hackett and get Sean Payton next year. That's what they want to do. But the bad thing is Javonte, and this actually has to do with football, but it's not on the DFS slate, the main slate. But Javonte, boy, that's just a blow because that dude is he's a freaking just a thoroughbred. It's beautiful to watch him run the football, catch the football, even block. And that's it. We're probably not going to see the best of him for 2 years. I know they come back in 1 year after ACL. This is probably 2 years away. I mean, it's cool that we see Saquon again, but right now in Denver, it's all about Javonte being down. Now, Melvin Gordon, who fumbles all the time, is the lead back. So that's where we're at. Uncle T, who's worse, Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray? It's a tough one, isn't it?
No, it's Kyler.
I would take Russell Wilson over Kyler right now.
Okay.
Is that what you were saying, Spread? I hope.
Kyler is like the guy, and JT, you know this because I know you run NBA DFS, right? You target, there's guys that just blow up against bad defenses, right?
That's
go
Kyler.
for 45 against the Kings, go for 52 against the Rockets, right?
Real life.
But they go against a real team and they never get anything done. And that to me is Kyler. He's the ultimate front runner. He's just going to keep putting those stats up. But I think that when it gets to the end of the season, I mean, Kyler's been in the same offense for how many years, right? Russ is with this new coordinator.
Yeah.
They're only 4 games in. The guy's basically teaching himself on the job, right? I mean, he's like the guy that, lied about his degree and now got the job and he's trying to figure it out. In my mind, it's got to be Russ.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Talk about Russ though, real quick. Yeah, I was sitting not on very good return on investment on Sunday's slate until the late slate there. Obviously, with the Detroit game, going off like it did, clearly, you had to have several pieces of that to really, win a lot of money. And our boy Hoop did. But 2 late stacks with Russell Wilson and a combination of Sutton, Judy, and then some runbacks on the other side got me to where I got about 50% of my money back, which was pretty good considering it was 0 going into the 4:00 games. But Russell Wilson, I think, like Spread said, I think another week or 2 in that system, maybe get more confident. I think he showed signs last week clearly of more like what we're seeing out of Russell Wilson. So yeah, I'd probably say Wilson for sure.
So let's get into the slate, JT. I'm going to go to you first at quarterback this week. We got the studs, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, the fantasy stud in Kyler Murray, the real life not a stud, but he's got a tough matchup with Philadelphia. I was talking to Hoop Mangone about this earlier today. Is it a week to pay up, pay down? I mean, going down, you're going to have to dig through guys like Kirk Cousins, I think, this week, maybe even a Tom Brady. So are you going to pay up for quarterback this week?
Yeah, I think the clear top pay up options, you got Josh Allen against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. That defense, I mean, they were carved up by Zach Wilson last week. And Allen's just been, 30 points a week. I don't think he got to 20 some last week it was a brutal weather matchup. And that's the thing that now is going to be a factor here moving forward is what's the weather in these spots. Hurts with a good matchup against the Arizona defense. And when you look at pay downs, I mean, you want to go all the way down, you start with Zach Wilson in his matchup against the Dolphins. Dolphins have been playing fast. I don't know if I'm going to go there. Andy Dalton against the Seahawks. I mean, we just saw Jared Goff drop 35 on them. And this running back core for New Orleans is a little bit impacted. I don't know. That's my first look. My first look is, if I can get to Allen or Hurts, those are the elite rushing quarterbacks on this slate in really good matchups. I think I'll go there because the rest of it, there's not a ton of pay-ups on this slate either. Yeah, you have Cooper Kupp on the slate, sure. But when you get to tight end, I mean, the highest priced tight end is, I think, under 5K. So it's
Middle's
a
5.2, and that's it.
Yeah, so it's a slate where I think you can comfortably pay up at quarterback and just take that safety. None of these, I mean, Uncle T or Spread may have a different opinion, but none of these lower price guys really jump out to me in first look.
Uncle T, is there a quarterback or two you're circling right now?
Yeah, I got a couple agreements with JT for sure. I got 4 of them that I earmarked here for our show tonight, starting with Josh Allen at the top. Definitely like him in this matchup, $8,200. The difference, 82 for him, 81 for Hurts, and then you drop down to 74 for Kyler. And then I don't mind Herbert at 7,100. And again, not the best matchup in Cleveland, but Herbert did look a lot better last week, albeit against the Texans defense. So a little guarded optimism there, but he threw for 350, 2 scores, no picks, looked a little bit more like Justin Herbert. But then you got pretty big drop off here. And the guy that Holden, you've been with me for 3 years on this show. I don't recommend this guy a lot. And you guys make fun of me, and deservedly so, because it's burnt me. But Tom Brady, I think I might go back to Brady this week.
That's my guy this week.
I know it's going to be probably the chalky or donkey call because it is the Atlanta defense. He usually crushes them, but I think he's pissed. I mean, he did get Evans back last week. Evans looked really good. Godwin came back, played good for 2.5 quarters, and looked again fairly solid. I think he had 5-6 catches, then got banged up at the end of the third quarter. I think Brady is going to have here in week 5 a really good game. I think he could end up popular, but we don't worry about that as much with quarterback position like we talked about. But I like him at an even 6K. So if I'm not going up to Allen or Herbert, I like the mid-range Tom Brady call. And the other guy I got was Zach Wilson down here at 5,300. JT mentioned him. A great matchup against Miami. He looked really good last week. He does have some weapons. I think that game's going to have some sneaky potential to get up there in some scoring. So those are the 4 guys I had listed.
Yeah, Tom Brady's, I don't know if it's going to be is he going to be a chalk donkey this week? I'm not so sure.
Well, when I say that, again, I don't think quarterback is ever like that, in my opinion. I think quarterbacks generally always spread out, but
he's got his weapons back. He won't play from behind like he did last week, but the angry Tom Brady or the angry Tom Brady narrative rarely disappoints. I like Tom this week too. And I haven't really played him yet this season. What do you think outside of Showdown? What do you think? JT, were you going to say something there about Brady?
No, I was going to say I neglected to say him. I had him written down too, just because said this a couple of weeks ago. If I'm playing Geno Smith against the Falcons, I'm definitely going to have interest in Tom Brady here. There was an article in The Athletic today. Could Geno Smith be the MVP of the NFL? No. He played against the Falcons and the Lions, and that's fantastic, and he did what he should do. But no, I think it's a pretty good bounce back spot here for the Bucs this week. So Brady definitely in play.
What do you think here, Spread? You think angry Tom Brady going to buy into the narrative? Is there a quarterback you're looking at?
I'm fine staying away from Brady. I like Hurts probably the most, but I'm down on Arizona. Josh Allen second the most. I don't like any of these middle ones. I know Uncle T was talking about Herbert there. I'm fine staying away from trying to go against that Cleveland defense, which I still think is a pretty good unit. And if Myles Garrett is a little better, that could be a really rough situation for Herbert. And
doesn't that seem like a slow shitty game too? Spread.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Let me pull up the total here real quick. The total on that game is 47.
Total's
so right in
not
the middle.
terrible, but I mean, it I don't know. In Cleveland,
Yeah, I mean, and the Chargers, this will be their second game on the road. Now it feels like every game is on the road for the crowd support, but they're actually traveling here. Stafford, I'm not going to play. I have no interest in Stafford. We saw what the 49ers pass rush did to him. He's not like the statue like Ryan or Flacco, but he's the next level of statue, right? He's getting molded there.
Talk about Stafford when we get to the defense.
Yeah. Cousins, you know what? I actually love Cousins matchup. My concern for him is the returning from London. So I'm fine staying away from him. Brady, yeah, I guess see, because there's so many ways to talk against these guys. There's really not a lot you could say against Brady, except for maybe distractions. But that guy's always been pretty good at putting those out. It's just, can he do it at this age and with all the serious stuff going on? Jared Goff has been great, but I'm fine staying away from him as well. I think that Belichick has shown that he's going to always have at least an above average defense. We could go back to Geno, and I think that Trevor Lawrence might be a good bounce back spot here. He's 100 more than Geno. He's going against a Houston defense that hasn't played that well this season, and I think he should be low owned coming off. I heard it was the most turnovers by a single player ever in NFL history.
Four in a game.
Congrats, JT, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Braves clinch. Beautiful to see.
Oh, did they? All right, congratulations. So there you go. You're gonna have a good time then.
Judge 62, Braves clinch. Another Mets collapse. We'll see if it carries over to October.
At what point did you guys stop talking about the Rockies on the CityCast? Like June?
Once there was something else to bet on.
Can I squeeze?
The second game of the year.
I want to squeeze in one more piece of breaking news before we go on. My Reds somehow won another game tonight and avoided loss number 100. So they've got to win tomorrow to avoid loss number 100. I think that's breaking news.
But that's not good because they want the worst record, right?
Well, I want them to have the worst record after that donkey of an owner came out on opening day and said what he said about moving the team and everything. And now they basically are on their way to losing 100 guys. Just what a clown.
Let me ask you guys real quick about Teddy Bridgewater. He's only 5,400, and you can argue a lot. I mean, yes, I don't want to sit here and kick the guy while he's down with Tua because they got mad at me for doing that with Trey Lance. So I'm trying to work on that. But you could argue that Bridgewater is just as poised to succeed as Tua in this offense because he's got two guys that can get 5 yards of separation on almost every play. There's a mid-range guy that I'm kind of interested in as well. Do you think that I'm reaching a little too far for Bridgewater, or could you see him having a big game?
I'll grab it real quick before JT gets in. And I know it was because I was at the game last Thursday night, but we were literally straight across where I think it was the second possession after Tua got hurt, literally straight across from the line of scrimmage. And when he threw that deep ball to Tyreek Hill, the word effortless is going to sound terrible for Bridgewater, but he threw it with no problem and threw the ball down the field. Tyreek caught it, just couldn't get into the end zone. I think he got tackled at the 3. So spread, I think kind of to your question, I don't think there's as big a drop off with Bridgewater as most people would think. So I don't think they're going to miss too much because, like you said, they got two guys that can, house one from grabbing it from 5 yards off the line of scrimmage and house one. So I think you're onto something there.
I mean, if it was Tua at 5,400 against the Jets,
Fred, will you stop? This show is going to go 2 hours if you keep asking questions, dude.
Well, we did a half hour of you asking about magnetic stuff at the beginning.
I want to go hang out with my girl, I don't
Holden, if in 6 minutes at top of the hour, hey, if you have to go, we'll pick it.
I don't have to go. I'm just saying,
I'll now answer questions.
Let me ask the questions. You answer the questions. We'll get this done.
Hey, do you have to get to the bet show?
I have no bet show.
It's the bet show. Okay,
is JJ waiting?
That's Thursday.
But
by the way, the Mets 289 days in first place the last 2 years, more than any other team. And
so I can't ask a football question, but you're just going to give us baseball stats like you're Elias.
the Holden Sports Bureau. Hey, spread. I completely agree with you. I think there's.
God damn it!
Honestly, I don't think there's. I don't think it's the fact that there's not a lot of drop off between Tua and Bridgewater. I think Bridgewater might actually be the better quarterback here. Yeah. When you talk about getting the ball down the field, doing what this offense wants to do. So yeah, I can see it. I'll have to see what happens later on in the week if that's
That was
spot
the
where
case,
I go.
wouldn't he, if he'd been the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, JT?
No, because they are stubbornly committed because of what they did
He
to
was
get
so good.
Tua. And I think it's just human nature that they're like, nope, this guy is good. We're gonna make him good.
All right. Running back. Derrick Henry's back. Love it. Love it. Absolutely tore it up last week. As a matter of fact, 2 straight weeks on DK, 25.3, 26.7. So anybody was questioning whether or not this guy is back, he is back. Nick Chubb, you guys, a couple of you guys, what, had Eckler last week? This week he's 7,800. Uncle T, is it time to go back to Eckler?
Yeah, I'll get to Eckler in a minute. Henry, you're right, has had a couple good games back to back, but I think I'm going to avoid, at least again, like we always talk about, it's Wednesday night, a lot can happen. I think I might avoid McCaffrey and Henry, and I know Henry can put up a good game on, or a good fantasy game against Washington here, but Washington struggles early in the year here. Really haven't been stopping the run. It's been through the air. So I'd rather go down to Nick Chubb, $8,000. He's been pretty doggone good in the first 4 games of the year, getting an average of 20 carries out of the backfield. He's got 5 touchdowns, off to a great start. And he gets the Chargers defense that, again, we talked about it, guys. I know Holden had to go take a leak. We talked about it on this show last week that, the Chargers are missing some guys on that defensive side of the ball. And I really like Nick Chubb here. He might be my favorite up top at 8,000.
I'm not taking a leak. I'm eating Baba Ganoush.
I mean,
Right.
How are we going to finish this show if you keep interrupting us? But Eckler, I don't know that I'm going to go back to Eckler off of the big game. He's fine, but again, I like Chubb on the other side. And then let me just mention a couple guys. Miles Sanders. Now, I was on Miles Sanders in week 3, and he let me down. Obviously, I had no shares of him last week. He put up, 30 DK points, a couple touchdowns. So I'm not usually the guy that gets on the right side of Miles Sanders, but he does look decent. I think that game could, have some scoring. I think Philadelphia should, for the most part, dominate that game. But again, Arizona, we talked about it. Murray's great in scrub time. I could see that game getting kind of into a wacky shootout, with Philly getting the lead early. Don't mind him. Pierce against 6,200 against Jacksonville. I don't mind that one. And then going down a little bit, I know it might feel Antonio Gibson feels like he's a little bit cheap at 5,900 against that Tennessee defense that I'm not necessarily afraid of whatsoever. And then I don't know what to do about the New England situation, because Harris and Stevenson are both in a pretty good spot this week against Detroit, but they're basically splitting carries, I think, right, JT? So they're both doing a pretty good job. They're getting some decent fantasy production, but they're not getting the full workload. So those are just a few guys I like. James Robinson against Houston also I like.
Harris on FanDuel, guys. Dude scored 13 of 15 games. I couldn't believe it when I looked back at the game logs. 13 to 15. He's a for sure bet to. No, of course he didn't. When was it? 2 weeks ago? It was week 1, maybe. It was week 1 he didn't score, and he's got every week since. There's a floor there, and we're looking for ceiling, aren't we, guys? So Damian Harris, 5'6". Penny. What about Rashad Penny, JT? Does he have another 30 burger in him?
No, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go chase that game. Uncle T, the Miles Sanders game was such a wild outlier because of the way that he's used. I just think it's really tough to go back to him. He doesn't get the work in the passing game. That's how McCaffrey got there last week. It's pretty clear for me. I think first look is I think Henry's in play just due to the matchup, the way they're using him in the passing game now, because he's sort of like they're using him like Christian McCaffrey finally, and he's been able to catch the ball out of the backfield. So I like the price on him.
Okay, so things look a little different. We obviously had a little hiccup there. Here's what happened, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'm sober today. JT is wearing a different shirt. Keg didn't do the hair that he has left. So last night we had a complete foobar with the computer. So we said, okay, we'll do this again. We won't tell Uncle T, so we don't have to put up with his shit. And we'll just do the rest of the podcast like we were going to do it anyways. By the way, congrats to Uncle T. Last night he was sweating that stuff. The dude won $11K. He won $11,000. So good for him. He's calling a Pee Wee volleyball girls game tonight. So he won't be here, but Spread is here. And of course, JT is here. And when we left off, JT, and we're going to pick it up like nothing happened, we were talking about running backs, right? We had finally gotten to the part of the show where we were talking football. So without further ado, I'm going to throw out my one guy, and then I'm going to throw it to you. Okay. I think we can go back to Khalil Herbert. I'm serious. 20 touches, 101 yards, and the Vikings give up 143 yards and 4.5 yards per carry. I think that no one's going to go back to him because he didn't have the blow up spot. If David Montgomery is back, we're obviously fading him, but that's my guy. I hope he's on the main slate.
Yeah, he is on the main slate. And listen, this week is great. We're going to give you a solid 9.5 minutes of football and like an hour and 5 minutes of absolute nonsense. I echo this. Congrats to Uncle T. He was sweating that last night. Put together a really nice team on what was a sloppy slate. But yeah, I think you can go back to Khalil Herbert. Man, I think it was Latavius Murray, a name I haven't heard in quite a while, actually got into the box against the Vikings last week. So I like Herbert, especially with the volume there. My top guy, though, I think is going to be James Robinson, man. I mean, he's finally being used as the bell cow in Jacksonville. They're going up against Houston. We see what running backs are doing to this team, and I like that spot a lot. We talked a little bit about Derrick Henry, Damian Pierce in that same game against Jacksonville. I mean, Miles Sanders ran all over the Jags last week. Certainly, maybe a little bit of a chase there. I don't know how I feel about it. I want to see what his props look like later in the week. And then one guy that I'll mention, and I really, Spread, I'm interested in your thoughts on this because it looks like this guy has taken over the backfield for the New York Jets. And it's Breece Hall, and he gets a matchup against the Dolphins, who can be susceptible on the ground. And it looks like Hall is going to be one of those backs that can get some catches out of the backfield when Zach Wilson is under a little bit of pressure. So for 5-4, I like him down low a little bit. And I don't know how I feel about the Nick Chubb price and the play calling by Kevin Stefanski. Just don't trust it right now.
All right. I'm going to look up Breece Hall right now because I was agreeing with you there, but I think that he might have been questionable today. So let me look that up right now.
And I heard the press conference, actually. They said he's got bumps and bruises. He's playing.
Okay.
And he took the backfield over, Spread, like very quickly.
No, I like him a lot as a player. And I'll tell you what, JT, I was happy to hear you talk about James Robinson because I was loving James Robinson as a play when he was sitting there, right, with ATN, right? And they're like 54, 53, and they're right there. And I wasn't sure, hey, because that's what I'm still working on. At 6,300, was he still value? But you still like him, which is good to hear because I like him as a player. And they're going against Houston here. I definitely think this is a position worth spending up for. I think we can continue to avoid McCaffrey. But Derrick Henry, got to be interested there. It says on DK that Washington is fourth against running backs, but that's fine. I haven't seen that watching the games, even if statistically it's true. I definitely want some Nick Chubb exposure. The idea here would be Brandon Staley. Sometimes these guys come in and they try and be ahead of the curve, and they are. I feel that one thing that he really struggled with was this idea on his defense that worked with the Rams when he was on their team, but not necessarily bringing it over the Chargers. And that's, we're just going to play the pass every down because the expected yards per play on a pass is higher than expected yards per play on the run. So we're going to encourage our opponents to run against us. Hasn't worked out that way. So I think that makes Chubb very interesting. And then we have Eckler on the way back. And after last week, how could you get away from him? So Dalvin Cook, I don't know, because of the injuries there. And then you brought up Robinson. Thank you for bringing that up about Breece Hall. And who was the last person that I was looking at that was cheaper?
I mentioned Pierce too for Houston in a matchup against the Jags. I don't know what you think about that.
That's a great matchup. They can't stop the fucking run.
Right.
So how is that not? And the other guy, if Swift is out again, would you go back to Jamal Williams in New England? It's getting volume. Guy's good.
Definitely volume. And that's one I started to look because I wrote down TJ Hawkinson. And the thing with Belichick, right? his defense typically is aimed at stopping the number one threat on the opposing team. And if all those guys remain out, you'd have to say it's likely Hawkinson that's going to be the guy that gets all the attention, which could make you interested in either Williams or Reynolds, or, you know, even Craig Reynolds, if they're going to use him the way that they used him last week. That's something I'm going to have to break down Thursday and Friday as we get closer to the weekend, just to see what I think Belichick is going to do. Because the defense in a matchup against Green Bay, and certainly Green Bay has a downgrade in weapons to an extent this year, but the Patriots defense didn't look all that bad in that game.
So there's another guy I want to bring up too, Raheem Mostert. So Edmonds got the fantasy points. He got into the box last week, but Mostert's now got over 70% of the touches here. So I know it's tough to trust him. The injury history and everything, but he's got the Jets this week and he's got the backfield. So I think in a tournament, we can roll with Raheem Mostert this week, JT. That's what I'm going to tell you. That's about as low as I'll go.
I think that you might be right. I just think there's so many other options with guaranteed volume. And now you've got Tua out. So what does that mean? You know, I mean, and I think we were talking about it, right? I mean, Teddy Bridgewater on some of those throws looked like clearly the better passer than Tua of the two. So what does that do to this offense? Is it
a lot of play action?
Could be.
I'm just said after seeing this Bridgewater play here, he's very good on play action. It's the one thing he does well. He doesn't run, you know, he doesn't, yet they try to go deep with him, but the play action thing, I'll be on Mostert at least right now, unless somebody talks me off the ledge. Anything else at running back spread?
Yeah, the 2-on-1 to bring up. So Rashad Penny coming off the big game. Normally that'd be a fade spot for us, but Pete Carroll seems like, I mean, this is like his dream. He wants a running back to be able to carry this offense. Seems to me he would try to build off the momentum. He's 5,300. Love to hear JT's thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, Penny, a huge game. I was all over in the last 2 weeks, and this is what Pete Carroll wants to do here. And he gets a pretty good matchup here against the Saints. This is a game that the total, I think, total's gone up, what, six point spread since the open. So, I mean, this is an interesting split. It's the same, could be the same beautifully ugly spot as last week's game against the Lions.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over the wide receiver position, boys. There's a lot to choose from this week with the big slate. We do have Cooper Kupp at the top. JT, he's at 9,600 now. Justin Jefferson, $700 cheaper at 8,900 on DK. Diggs, Tyreek. That's where I want to stop and ask you something. Is Tyreek's value still there? Will you pay $8K for Tyreek with Teddy Bridgewater under center?
Yeah, I would in a matchup here against the Jets. I'm not sure in that top range because you have Jefferson there too in a really good matchup. I think they're against the Bears, right? I mean, the Bears can't stop anyone. So if you look at matchups, I think Jefferson has the best matchup of him, Kupp, or Hill, right? I mean, Matt Stafford has looked, man, not really, really good this year. And we like that Dallas defense. So not saying that, of course, they're going to find a way to get Cooper 11 catches. It's just insane how they're able to do that. And then you've got Hill, but, you know, Waddle was a little bit banged up, and now he'll have the long week to, you know, rest. So I'm not so inclined to say it's just Hill. It could be Waddle. And so that's what makes that decision a little bit more difficult.
Who are you on? Who's standing out to you? 2-3 guys.
Yeah, guys I've written down are Justin Jefferson at 8-9 in a matchup against the Bears. I mean, the Bears, they're just. I mean, they're not openly tanking, but look, they're not going anywhere. Tyler Lockett, I think, is a little bit too cheap here in this matchup. We talked about against New Orleans, 5.6 on DraftKings. Darnell Mooney finally maybe reestablishing that connection with Justin Fields. He's 5K.
Not buying it, JT.
You're not?
No, because I'm just so down on Justin Fields.
Yeah.
What did he throw last week? 22 times. They just don't want him to throw. They're doing everything they can to keep him from throwing. So unless they fall behind big, which is always a possibility, I can't go back to Mooney. But you know what? If you think that they are, then you're going to get him at low ownership and you're going to ship.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how the Bears don't fall behind, right? I mean, this is a game. I believe this game is in the Dome, right? This game is in Minnesota. So, and
Rivalry
then a couple.
game.
What's that?
Rivalry game.
Yeah. Okay.
No. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It's a division game, and we've talked about that, about not really targeting those. But then you've got a couple of plays here. I mean, CeeDee Lamb and Gallup against the Rams, right? Cooper Rush has actually looked pretty good, and the Rams D has been giving up a ton of yardage. And Stephon Diggs in a perhaps bounce back spot here against the Steelers. Robert Woods for Tennessee, talked about it on the shows on Sunday, how much yardage the Washington Commanders are giving up to opposing wide receivers. He's cheap. And then, Holden, I'll ask you this, because you come from that region and you're still very piped into the Washington-Baltimore region. Is Terry McLaurin ever going to be good at football again?
Curtis Samuel's my guy right now, man. Especially if Dotson's out again. Curtis Samuel had 3 really good weeks, and now that you're sleeping on him, because what did he have last week? 4 for 38. It's off the top of my head.
Last week.
Terry McLaurin, it's Curtis Samuel season, buddy.
All right, fair enough.
Spread, you want to talk about wide receiver real quick? Oh, let me throw one more guy out there at you. Chris Olave, especially if Thomas is gone again, because Michael Thomas, remember, he has the toe.
Yep.
I mean, he has 10 of them, but one's hurting him. And it doesn't matter who's under center, man. This guy is still going to get the work. I mean, he's not going to get 26 targets over 2 weeks with like he did with Jameis, but Chris Olave's got to be in consideration at this point, maybe every week, especially against Seattle.
I think you have to consider every receiver that's on the field against the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what did Jared Goff get last week against him? 35 fantasy points. That's something. If Jared Goff could do that, Andy Dalton can probably do that.
Would you play Dalton this week?
I might. We didn't talk about him at quarterback because we were kind of honed in on the top elite rushing quarterbacks, Allen and Hurts, being in good matchups, particularly Allen, I think. But yeah, the question is going to be, is there enough spend ups to justify paying down to Andy Dalton? But I think you could make the same case last week and people would have said, well, I want Allen or I want Lamar Jackson. And you got Geno Smith and Jared Goff are the 2 highest scoring quarterbacks on the slate. We're not going to play the Patriots rookie against the Lions. But yeah, I do think you can play Andy Dalton against the Seahawks. Any
thoughts at wide receiver here, Spread?
Yeah, because we've talked about it, quarterback and running back, and I still think I'm with the original idea that we had, JT, that let's spend up there at quarterback. Let's spend up at running back. So we can't spend up everywhere. And I'm kind of fine staying away. Cup at 9,600. We talked about that's a tough matchup. If he beats you, he beats you. Jefferson, I'm worried about the jet lag. We talked about that earlier. Holden. So let me go down a little bit more. I think, watching Deebo Samuel in there, how can you not be interested in him? He already brought up CeeDee Lamb. I think he's a great one. But who I really like here is Jalen Waddle. I didn't downgrade Miami at all. And it's 6,700 against 8K. And I'll be honest, it almost feels like those two are almost a coin flip on who's going to outscore the team. So even though Tyreek Hill probably has the higher floor, I think the ceilings are about even there, and I can get in for 6,700. You have to be interested. We talked about Geno Smith and Jared Goff doing so well. So what's the idea there? Hey, let's not worry about taking the player. Like, let's not worry that Josh Allen is better than Jared Goff. Let's fade the really bad defenses. You get an opportunity to do that against Houston if you take Christian Kirk. And then Mangone brought it up today, but I want to reinforce how much I love this play here. George Pickens. And the idea here is, what are we looking for? We're looking for guys that could be mispriced, could be undervalued. and we need a specific reason. Well, the specific reason is you have a different quarterback coming in who seems to just absolutely love this guy and wants to feed him the ball. Mangone brought it up today. I'm not the only one that noticed it, so it may be chalky, but I think it's going to be good chalk. I think, it's a way to get a higher priced running back in there, way to get the higher priced quarterback in there. You go to a guy like George Pickens.
I think he's going to get a lot of ownership here. And this is not a great matchup in fact, if the Bills, I think the Bills are one of the more expensive defenses on the week. If they weren't, I'd have interest in them just because it's a rookie quarterback starting his first game on the road. I don't know. Yeah, Pickens is cheap. He could get there based on volume. You expect that they're going to be playing from behind, right? But I don't know.
See, I think at 4,300, I feel pretty safe that he's going to get there. If it goes through the game script that we all expect, I get a whole quarter against the prevent. And these are two of my young guys that I'm either building around, or in Kenny Pickett's case, I'm going to be jettisoning pretty quick. I think that they're going to get plenty of opportunities to try and run some of their best plays. So, it's a really low price, and I do think we have a great opportunity because, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if I get to work against a full 15 minutes of prevent.
JT, last one for you. If I'm going Dalton Olave, who's the run back? Is it DK or Lockett or both?
I mean, look, you saw last week you could do both. It's kind of funny when you see Lockett priced this far down, 5.6, only a couple of hundred difference than last week, but lower. He's, one of these weeks, he's going to be a guy that gets you 30 fantasy points. It didn't happen last week against Detroit, but I like him a lot here this week. And I will not shy away from playing him and DK together. But I'll probably have a little bit, and hopefully, because he was the more popular guy last week. You know how this goes, right? Everyone sees it's DK. They say, oh, it's DK now. DK has the connection. And then this week, maybe it's Tyler Lockett.
Let's get to tight end. It's 5,200 is our highest priced tight end this week with George Kittle, who has turned into a blocker, apparently. He almost had a touchdown, but he didn't. Hawkinson, if Amon-Ra is back this week, I don't think he's in the mix because he goes back to a blocking role as well. Zach Ertz in a revenge spot against the Philadelphia Eagles. On the other side, you got Goddard. Pitts has a hamstring injury and everybody hates him. And then there's Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, Freiermuth, and Njoku, guys that could have a nice ceiling. And Njoku had a nice week last week. Break it down here, JT. We're saving money at the position. There's really no way to pay up. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago and Njoku went nuts. And last week, 5 catches, 7 targets, 73 yards. Any of these guys going to do what you need them to do?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about worrying about Hawkinson, even if St. Brown is out, right? Because that's the guy likely that the Patriots would focus on, especially after that huge week last week. Patriots are going to play slow. They're going to run the ball a ton. This really is not a explosion spot here like it was for Detroit. So I think I'll probably be off of those guys. I do like Dallas Goedert. I've got him as I think he's 4.7. Will Dissly and Juwan Johnson for the Saints, those opposing tight ends in that game in New Orleans, Seattle and New Orleans. Dissly catching a touchdown pass. He's just 3.2. Juwan is just 3.K flat. And then I got Dawson Knox at 3.6. I have some interest in him here against the Steelers. Think that that's a nice price for him. And then Kittle, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. The worry you have, right, Holden, is that he hasn't been good. He hasn't been productive. Is he going to one week is just going to be the week where he gets 40 fantasy points. If you don't have him, you're not making any money. And I'm not all that impressed with Carolina's defense. It's okay. It's been good against bad teams, but we'll see what they can do against the 49ers.
They're going to tear Baker Mayfield apart. I wonder if it's worth paying up for him this week at 3,800 because they might be able to get you a 20 spot. There's some interesting pay-ups at defense this week too. We'll get to that in a sec though. Real quick, spread tight end thoughts.
Yeah, I want to ask JT. So You had Goddard in there. I considered Goddard and Ertz, and I thought this was a tough decision, right? They're around the same price. I think Goddard would probably get a little more usage, and of course, is in the better offense. But now we go to game script. Could this be a similar game like what I talked about earlier, where Kyler does what he does best and gets all these stats when he's down by 10 points or more? You talked about Goddard and be more excited about him than Ertz. How did you balance the game script versus just the first half usage?
It was more a viewpoint of that Arizona offense is, and it looked a little more condensed because they kept going to Hollywood Brown last week. But for a couple of years now, it's been with the Arizona offense, especially since Hopkins has been out. It's like you don't know who's going to get the targets week to week there. Kyler really is more of Jalen is too to some degree, a run first quarterback. It was just a low price tight end with decent volume in the highest total of the week. I think if you ask me today's Wednesday, where am I leaning towards one of those two, Goddard, Ertz, or looking at Juwan Johnson for $3K? I mean, if I want to spend up at a couple of positions, I think Juwan Johnson is a fantastically priced here in that matchup.
Let me give you one if you want to spend up as well, right around the same price tag. Hunter Henry. Why wouldn't we just play every single player against Detroit? I mean, they're just as bad as Seattle. You talked about wanting to play players against Seattle. I think that this is another great opportunity here if you want to just punt on this position.
If Jonu's out, and I'll throw this one at you. Deep sleeper, midweek deep sleeper, Cade Otton. See, I don't think you don't have to save that much money at tight end though. But when I'm getting $2,500 for the starting tight end of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at $2,500, you got 4 catches last week. What do I got to do? What do I got to do to pay him off? There's still studs to pay up for. You could get a Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson lineup. You can get a Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb. So if you guys want to dig into Cade Otton a little bit, keep an eye on Cameron Brate. We know that Brady likes going to the tight ends a few times a game. 2,500.
Great matchup against the Falcons. The Hunter Henry thing. You make a great point. It's this quarterback and the Belichick offense, and it's entirely possible he gets 4 catches, 50 yards, and ends up with a touchdown, right? And that kind of is what you're looking for from him, right? But I think you're going to see 30 plus carries between Stevenson and Harris, right? I mean, you're definitely going to see that, especially against the Lions. And I think one of you guys brought this up about being a little bit concerned about that backfield. It had looked like Ramondre Stevenson was taking over last week. Harris got the better productivity. Those for cheap running backs, I mean, you want to flip a coin, don't play both. One of those guys is likely to get at least 20 fantasy points against this Detroit defense, right?
One of them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Holden, you brought up, right, that Harris scores almost every single game.
13 of 15.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of using Harris, especially on FanDuel at this point. Let's talk about defense. Niners taking on Baker Mayfield. That whole situation is a complete dumpster fire. As we know, that's maybe a pay-up option there. JT and spread. You've got Miami at the Jets. If you really wanted to, road teams though, I don't know if I'm down with that. And then what's the cheapest one you would go to this week, JT? Would you make a case for Dallas at the Rams? Would you make a case for, I don't even know who the hell else, Washington hosting Tennessee? No, I don't like that one either. It's gross. There's some grossness, man. I'll just say that Titans at 3,000 is probably a popular play.
Yeah, I have Dallas written down at 2.5. Just the state of that offensive line for the Rams. I mean, they're going to have to defend Micah Parsons this week with a bunch of third string guys. It looks like they're down to their, I think it was one of the tackles that was playing center at the end of that game in San Francisco. We know that the secondary likes to take chances and jump routes, and Matthew Stafford just has looked very erratic to start the season. So for 2.5, that's probably as low as I was looking so far. I wrote down the Vikings at 3.6. I think interesting home defense there against the Bears. You talked about how bad Justin Fields has been. And then I think you can look to the Bills, and I do think you can look to the 49ers and spread. We're talking this through, and we're looking at prices here, and there's not maybe 4 or 5 of these high price guys that we're interested, not in the same lineup. I do think it's pretty easy to get one of these higher priced defenses in a really good matchup in your lineups this week.
I mean, it's a good question, right? So I could go with the Titans at 3K stands out, right? But boy, the 49ers, and it's only an extra 800. I can't, go around all those good options I found earlier and find myself an extra $800. I think you make a great point. This is a week that maybe you get to get into some of these higher priced defenses. Let's go back to the Bills there at 4,100. Seems obvious going against the rookie quarterback and the bad offensive line. Let's assume I have enough for both. And I love all my other spots. Who would you rather have, Buffalo or San Francisco? I almost think I'd rather have San Francisco, and I'm surprised they're not the highest priced defense on the board.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco was very, very impressive against the Rams on Monday night, and they get Baker Mayfield. What more could you want? I mean, that team is just, Carolina is just offensively nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, those are the ones. I like the Cowboys. They brought that up in the chat today. The idea that the Rams are so much more expensive than the Cowboys is absolutely crazy to me, just because I think you're going to get a bunch of sacks there. And then, of course, that's going to give you all that pressure opportunity for the turnovers. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm surprised that the Titans are only 300 more than the Commanders, who haven't been that good this year. And if you did, you want to spend up elsewhere, and that's fine. That's the traditional way to do it. Think that you also have to look at the Browns at 2,700. You're saying, okay, I'm going against the Chargers, but the Chargers don't stop the run that well. You could have a game where Cleveland gets 34 to 35 minutes of time of possession. And then I was looking today, it looks like they're pretty excited in Cleveland about Myles Garrett being pretty close back to full strength, and he means so much to that offense. If Chargers get ahead as well, are they going to go a little conservative here? Will it be a low scoring game with not a lot of plays? I think the Browns at 2,700 are interesting. I mean, I don't know how they're less than the Lions defense. That's crazy to me.
That's definitely week to week, right? You look at week to week, definitely a much, much different matchup than what they had last week. But Spread, I want to get your thoughts on the line for the Dallas Rams game.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Did you watch?
You and me are on the other side,
Yeah.
Spread, so you might be in a smash spot this week.
Yeah, Holden and I are opposite here. I couldn't believe that line. We had them pretty close to even doing the power rankings with Tyler this morning. And then, it's not just numbers, though. We're not just blindly betting the numbers we spit out. Then we're going ahead and we're looking at the matchups. And I told Holden earlier, why do the Niners always beat the Rams? It's not necessarily because Kyle Shanahan knows Sean McVay and all these great things. It's because they're able to get pressure with just 4 guys. And Stafford's not able to handle the pass rush, but it's not a blitz that he's going against. It's only 4 guys giving him a blitz-like pressure. Now we go ahead and look at what Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence have been able to do. I don't see any reason why they can't replicate that or even outdo it, right? Because Parsons is almost or maybe as good as Bosa now, and Lawrence might be better than anyone the Niners have besides Bosa. So I think they can get pressure with 4. I really like Dallas. That's one of my favorite plays of the week.
Yeah, and you look at it, you're sort of thinking, listen, Stafford has been terrible. The running backs haven't been able to get any traction. How are they going to score 25 points against this defense? It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think we're at the point where we can say, hey, Cooper Rush, right? He's not an MVP candidate, but he's a capable NFL quarterback. And in that offense, with all those weapons, he can definitely do what's needed of him. So, I'll tell you what, I was kind of down on him, week 1. Oh, my gosh, Cowboys are done. Well, he's proved us wrong. And I think at this point, obviously things could turn around. It's not a for sure thing, but we're having a little bit of sample size and he's having continued success. So maybe this isn't a fluke. The guy's been in the system for a while and he's got a lot of guys to get it to. CeeDee Lamb's open on a lot of those routes. He's not thrown into a really tight window there, right? He's got a guy that's wide open. They're establishing the run really well. They're doing the good thunder and lightning pretty well, right? Like those old Giants with Brandon Jacobs. The Pollard Zeke seems to be working. So yeah, I really like the Cowboys here, and that's crazy because I was down on them coming into this season. But the way that Parsons has continued to blossom and the way this defense is playing, they're going to be in every single game.
Yeah, and Michael Gallup back, I think, is a big help to freeing up CD even a little bit more. They got to pay a little bit more attention to him on the outside.
Right.
All right, guys. Good show. Good 2 shows. We got it done. I like it. JT, spread, Uncle T, good job. When you wanted to be here, I appreciate that. That was my ass sneezing, by the way. Thank you, Simon, for doing all the hard work behind the scenes, meshing this show together. And why don't you get us out of here?